This video is going to go over how to factor trinomials that are in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c when a is equal to 1. We're going to start with this first example here. It says x squared plus 8x plus 15. And I like to use the area model. Because it kind of gives us a place for each item and it helps us to stay organized. You put the x squared here, and we know that that's really 1x squared, and we put 15 here. And what we want is we want the factors of 15 that are going to add up to be 8. So the factors of 15 are 1 and 15 and 3 and 5. Well, this one's pretty simple. We know we need to use 3 and 5. So here's where this goes. So what did we multiply together? Length times width is going to give me the area here. And what did we multiply together to get 1x squared? We multiplied 1x times 1x. Those ones are optional, but sometimes we need to see them there so we realize what we're doing. What would we multiply together to get 15? We can multiply 3 and 5. So then we ask ourselves, what's the area of this section? Well, it's the 3 times the 1x, which is 3x. And what is the area of this section? It's the 1x times the 5, which is 5x. So we have our two factors, which are the parts on the outside of the box. So it is 1x plus 5 times 1x plus 3. And you could write it as x plus 5 times x plus 3. So that is how you factor when a is 1 and both of your signs are plus signs. Our next example is one where we still have a is equal to 1, but our second sign is negative. And let's talk about what that means. That means that there's somewhere in this problem there's some negative numbers. But 24 is positive, so when they multiplied them together, they got a positive 24. So we know that when you multiply a positive and a negative, you get a negative. But if you multiply two positives, you get a positive. Or if you multiply two negatives, you get a positive. So when we list the factors of 24, we want both of them to be negative. We know that we have two negative numbers on the outside here in this circle and this square. So it could be negative 1 and negative 24, negative 2 and negative 12, negative 3 and negative 8, negative 4 and negative 6. How do you know which pair you want? Well, you want the pair that's going to combine and give you that negative 11. And that's going to be negative 3 and negative 8. So if I place the negative 3 here, then to find the area of this section, I do negative 3 times 1, which is negative 3x. If I put the negative 8 here, when I multiply these two items, I get negative 8x. And together, those two are like terms, and if I combine them, I'll get negative 11x. So, my factors here are x minus 8 and x minus 3. Next example will be x squared minus 2x minus 35. So we will set up our area model. We have x squared here and we have negative 35. Now this changes just a little bit because the last value, the c value, is negative. And how did that happen? How did we multiply and get a negative number? Well, we had to have a positive number and a negative number. So when I list my factors of negative 35, I'm going to have to list each pair twice. So for example, negative 1 and 35 is one way, but it could have been 1 and negative 35. Could be 5 and negative 7 or negative 5 and 7. Which pair? Well, which pair, when you combine them, will give you the negative 2 in the middle. This one will give you negative 2 in the middle. This one would have given you positive 2. So if you get the right number but the wrong sign, what you've done is you've identified the pair, but you've got the wrong thing being the negative. So this is 1x and this is 1x. And we know that these two are going to multiply together and give me the area here. So I'm going to put the 5 here. This will be 5x. and this multiplies here. So I'll put the negative 7 there. So I'm going to get negative 7x. And together that's going to make negative 2x. So this factors into x minus 7 times x plus 5. So I'm going to give you some problems to practice. And you practice these, and then we'll see what the answers are in a little bit later. So I'm going to put 3 problems up here. Pause this video, try those 3 problems, and then I'll give you the answers in a second. Here's problem 1 worked out. It's x plus 3 times x plus 4. Problem 2, factors of 42 are 1 and 42. Actually, they're both negative this time because that middle term is negative. Negative 2 and negative 21, negative 3 and negative 14, negative 6 and negative 7. The factor pair that I need is negative 6 and negative 7. So this answer is r minus 7 times r minus 6. So we multiplied here, got that, here, and we got that. Number 3. I need the factors of negative 40. And that would be negative 1 and 40, or 1 and negative 40. 2 and negative 20, or negative 2 and 20. 4 and negative 10, negative 4 and 10. 5 and negative 8, or negative 5 and 8. And the factor pairs that I want are negative 5 and 8. So this is going to be p on the outside here, and this will be negative 5 and 8. So it is p plus 8 times p minus 5. So I hope that you feel a little bit better about factoring these, and tomorrow we'll talk about factoring when the a value is not a 1.